Hey, today we're going to talk about the SaaS projects. And if you're watching this, I assume that you have a SaaS project idea that you want to implement, and you have no idea how to start and how to move around that. Probably you have started to estimate the project scope. Maybe even some companies have given you a quote. Probably you also saw a lot of different informations about how much it costs to build a SaaS, how long it takes. Some people will brag that they just started a SaaS within a week. Some people will tell you that it takes years to launch a SaaS project. So, how to be smart about it? How to actually how to actually approach the subject of building your own SaaS project. So I assume that you are not very technical person. I mean, you are technical to an extent, but at the same time, you're not a developer, and you don't know about all the tools that are available there. So you have to rely on your agencies, consultants, that they are telling you the truth. And what I'm trying to do here is to give you a little bit of head start, explain the topic from my own perspective. My background is that I have spent over 15 years in the IT industry, managing over 100 projects. Many of them were SaaS projects. I have also built 2 SaaS projects personally for myself, and at least 3 quite big SaaS projects for my customers that are making revenue. So I hope that my experience that I have gained so far will give you that head start that will help you in your path towards building your own SaaS project. So the first question will be, how much does it cost? How much does it cost to build a SaaS project? And yes, there are no simple answers, but I think that I can help you divide it a little bit. So there is a few different SaaS projects, types of SaaS projects that can vary very widely in how much they cost. First are the simplest ones, the ones that are actually using the technology, that you are just being man in the middle between the technology and the consumer. So the only thing you have to do is to provide an interface for someone to actually pay you and use that external service. Good examples are ChatGPT based services, SaaS services that you can see that there are thousands of right now, maybe tens of thousands of right now. We haven't built one of these for ourselves called BedSense AI, and it's doing very good. So the cost of building such SaaS project will be always on the lowest end of the graph, because you're not actually inventing anything, you're not building any custom interfaces, everything is prepared for you, and the functionality is very limited. I mean, the end user is doing he just logs in and he can do one of maybe a few actions that are just API based. So this is the simplest way of having a SaaS. Except ChatGPT though, there is a very rare occasion when you have an API that provides value that no one else has. Most of the times you need to build this functionality for yourself. And this is where the cost starts to build up. First of all, when you create your own technology or your own processes, you need to actually hire more qualified and more experienced people to provide the architecture for you. If you don't do this, you end up risking what we saw a lot. Having project working or almost working, developer losing his motivation, and you ending up with almost working code that does nothing business wise except it almost works. And all agencies that look at this code say, no, we would like to start from scratch. We cannot continue with this code. So this is the worst that can happen to you, I think. So basically, whatever you think that you have an extra technology or extra point of integration with something external, then it's very important for you to spend the money on architect. It doesn't have to develop the software, but you really need a good technical foundation before you start the project. Another way of thinking about cost of SaaS is the end platform. The cheapest SaaS builds are just web platforms. You can open a web page, log in. It could be even based on the WordPress CMS sometimes. You can do some actions there and log out. When you want to implement mobile app experience, like native mobile app, then you have to assume that the cost will be much higher. There are technologies that allow you to create hybrid mobile apps, for example, create one code base and deploy both Android and iOS apps. But those apps will never be as smooth and as efficient and as good looking as the native ones. So just to let you know. Also, when you're creating a new SaaS project, you really don't have customer base yet. So spending money on building apps and projects at this stage is not always the best option. And this is where we go to the next question, which is how to gauge the risk. What's the real risk involved in the creation of the SaaS project? And what I can tell you from my experience is that the biggest risks for your business creating a SaaS project are the customers. So basically, if you don't start with customers and reiterate with customers, the longer you build the SaaS without them, the bigger the risk is. So before you end up with creating multiple various functionalities, please try to start with the real MVP. And the real MVP is the minimal product that will actually prove the point of the market value for you. For example, if you have an app that creates email templates, then try to find a way to sell those email templates in the simplest possible form, simplest possible way, or even before that, try to create a landing page and see how much people would sign up to the waiting list for those email templates before you launch a full created SaaS project. You have to understand that there is abundance of good SaaS services in the market that already are at least a few years in the market, that are already experienced, that already have customer base. It's not so easy to create something new that will bring the traffic to yours. So this is the biggest risk for you. But if you already know that, you know what to do, and you know what your customers are. For example, you can bring on board some customers at the very beginning. Maybe you already have those customers, and for example, you're servicing them in a manual way and you want to automate this. This is the best place to move forward from there. And then we focus on the technology. And as an owner of software house, I constantly test and try out various different technologies. And being on the market for more than 15 years, I've seen a lot. And to be very honest, some technologies are very expensive to use. Some technologies are must-have to use. And how to, decide. Basically, looking at the cost factor, the least expensive technologies are the simplest ones, the self-hosted ones, and the ones that are general purpose, like for example WordPress CMS. You would be amazed how much you can do just using the WordPress CMS. We've been doing subscription-based SaaS projects in WordPress with success without any problem. So if it's simple, if it's just access to data, access to something premium, you can do it just by WordPress. But by the way, if you have just premium content, there are multiple other ways to make money. You don't have to create your own SaaS project. For example, there are services like Gumroad and others that will allow you to just create your own marketplace for your data. You don't really have to do anything else than that. But let's assume that's very niche and very tailored, and you want to create your own website for that. That's okay, we can do it. And WordPress will be just good enough. Then on the scale of complexity, you have other CMSs and other backends as a service platforms, which means that they offer you a rapid development environment that allows you to create, for example, backend very quickly. And in this area, Obviously, Python and Django framework are very very efficient. Although not so many Python developers, most of them are doing AI stuff right now. Um, the second one that's very interesting is the Directus platform, because it allows you to quickly create an API and you can just build front end on top of that. There are also very, very interesting full-blown SaaS starter projects that have user registrations, accounts, licenses, subscriptions, emails, everything a SaaS project would do. And if I would start a SaaS project knowing that I have budget for at least 5 or 6 months of work at least, then I would probably use one of those boilerplate templates, unless my SaaS project is so custom that I would have to throw away most of the functionalities they have. But looking at them, for let's say $2,000 a year, you can buy a code base for a SaaS starter project that is really, really good and promising with updates, obviously. Then the bigger the project is, the more technical risk you have, and the more you rely on the technical architect who is picking the technology stack for you. And you have to understand that from the career perspective of software architects, they really like to learn new stuff and use the new stuff. So for example, they will assume that you want to have GraphQL connections to the database instead of typical REST API, for example. And GraphQL would, it changes, but 2 years ago, GraphQL would mean that you have very limited amount of technology platforms you can use. But at the same time, having such stack will give you bigger chances of having very, very high performant app at the end of the day. So if you would like to create a, for example, project management platform, task creation time is very, very important. You don't want to waste users' time waiting on the spinning circle to load the next view. Then obviously the new technology stack that's very, very efficient would work. But you have to consider the higher cost of development in this area. And there are a few things that I have avoided. First of all is no-code platforms and low-code platforms like Bubble.io or Flutterflow and others. They allow you to just click through building an app, almost writing no code. And as much as I love the idea and I think that this is great, I do believe that with project complexity, the novelty wears off very quickly, and the problem is with the development experience. There is almost no development experience for that project. So good quality developer would not want to work on that platform. So this gives you another risk. What does work in terms of the low-code platforms is Webflow. Webflow is a perfect solution for you if you want to create very, very quickly a landing page or multiple landing pages. It's the most cost-efficient option right now for the website build on the market. And regarding technology, there are also mobile technologies. I don't want to dive too deep into mobile technologies in this video, but just wanted to say that there is Flutter language that allows you to build in both platforms. There is also React Native that allows you to build in both platforms. There is Expo framework that has grown a lot in the recent years. And it's a very, very major platform now. But many professional companies still choose to pick native solutions, which would be, for example, Kotlin for Android and SwiftUI for iOS. And I understand why, because the development the development process is better for the developers, which means that the output might actually be quicker. And the speed of the app, the performance of the app, and the ability to change the layout as you want is much better there. And if you're really building a mobile app, then I assume that you already have enough customers to cover that cost. So to sum up, I know that this video was quite long, and you still might have more questions than answers. If so, feel free to just contact me and schedule a meeting with me. I'm very happy to share my knowledge and experience and discuss with you your case on case by case scenario. What I wanted to tell you mostly is that beware of the costs, because they can grow very, very quickly, and it's very easy to pick the wrong platform on both ends, or either too cheap platform that will just block you, or a platform that is too expensive that will suck all the air out of you before you launch. And how important it is to have the customers at start, to have proven business model, because the cost of building things by developers is very, very high. I mean, this is the highest thing in terms of the highest cost of building a SaaS business. So before you write even one line of code, try to test the idea first. That is my advice, and I hope you like that. If you need anything else, as I mentioned earlier, feel free to contact me. Bye.